obviously, who's pregnant, obviously worked all day, her feet hurt, and it's her waitress. And after she's done eating, the tab comes out. She leaves $100 bill on it and says, "Keep the change. Don't let the chain of love end with you." And the song ends with that waitress going home, and they imply that the guy who originally helped this girl out
Hmm.
was the husband of the pregnant waitress.
Oh wow.
So the whole concept a lot of the times is sometimes it's just people being nice and wanting to do something nice for somebody behind them. Um, but other times it's with intention that keeps going on,
Hmm. Yeah.
and then hopefully one day when you're in need of something, it will kind of make its way back to you.
Yeah, I've always seen videos like that too, where it's like they have it on a stabilizer, and what happens is they follow people around, and then it's kind of like that circle philosophy.
Right. And I think it's kind of like a version of karma, except for if you do something bad, it's gonna happen to you.
Hmm.
This is more if you do something good, or like you do something good for someone else, and then you hope one day when you need it, it'll be kind of passed back around to you. So that's why I'm a solid believer in this whole concept of if you help somebody else,
Hmm.
hopefully one day they'll or somebody else will help you. Um, and I think that's why it's kind of like a long time ago. I was at church and my pastor was doing a sermon. It was around Christmas time, and as you know, around Christmas time, layaway comes back. It used to be a big thing when I was younger. Is they always had layaway.
Yeah.
You could pay for something, or you could put something in layaway, and you pay on it, and you slowly pay it off. And then once you pay it off, you just pick up the stuff. Um, and it's kind of gone by the wayside, except for around Christmas time. People start doing it again, or stores start doing it again. And there was a gentleman who, and to this day, we still don't know who he is.
Really? Huh.
He went around to different stores and he would talk to the person in charge of the layaway, and he would say, "Hey, I want to pay off one of these, but I want it to be, I want it to be one. Is there one that's full of toys, and there it seems like they're it's, they're barely making payments on it. He was kind of looking for kids whose parents, like those were their Christmas presents, and the parents were having a hard time affording it. And he completely paid off the layaway.
Wow.
And so then they called the lady and said, "Hey, your stuff is all paid up. Come pick it up." And he did that in several different places.
Hmm.
And that actually started a chain of people doing that same thing.
Huh.
Um, so that kind of inspired me, and I didn't want to do that because I know, I mean, it's one of those things. Once somebody does it, then a lot of people do it. Then it's still great,
Yeah.
but I want to do something that is, unique. I want to do it, an idea like that. Nobody had ever done that before until that gentleman did it. So
Yeah.
that's kind of something that I want to. I want to do something unique that nobody's thought of yet. Um, that way, it leaves a little bit bigger impact, with everyone, with just, the person that it happens to.
Yeah.
So, and let me tell you what. Right now, I'm kind of broke, but if I ever have the money, I'll pay for the person behind me.
Hmm.
Um, because that is it.
Yeah. It's
And
a
there
story
was
of my life.
well, there was even a girl, who I had on the show a little while ago, and she said she was a part of that too.
Oh
She
wow.
said she was at Starbucks, and she pulled up, and somebody said, "Hey, your stuff is already paid for."
Hmm.
And she said, "Oh well," she was with her mom, and her mom were like, "Well, give this and pay for the person behind us." And I guess it had happened for several cars.
Oh wow.
So sometimes it's but like you did, you're like, "Well, I've already got this money.
Hmm.
Here, put this towards the next
Yeah.
person's tab." And then I would have hoped that they would have done the same thing. That would have paid it off. They would have done the same thing,
Yeah.
and it would have kind of carried on. Um, but like you said, the fact that they saw you were having a good day, you were jamming out in your car.
Yeah.
Trust me, I've had jam sessions in my car.
Oh yeah.
Every time I get in there and April's not in there, um, let me tell you, I rock out pretty hard.
Oh yeah.
Because I can crank my music, and man, you found another noisy toy. Thought I hit all of them. Okay, so yeah, but this is super awesome. I really, dude.
Man. I think that's a great, tradition that Starbucks has.
Yeah.
It's, something that reoccurs each and every single. It comes around during the holidays more often than usual, but it's really cool to see and be a part of.
Yes, exactly. Like I said, even though it comes around only in the holidays,
Yeah.
um, it'd be it would be awesome just to, even if you get a group together, we'd even talked about as a church maybe getting fundraising a little bit of money and getting a gift card and giving it like going to McDonald's, like getting $100 gift card, going to McDonald's, giving McDonald's $100 gift card and give them a stack of those cards and say, for every person that for every meal that this pays for, we want you to give them one card. So like say you're in line and they say your meal's already been paid for, and then they would just give you one of those cards.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's kind of funny because I just thought about it now, but if the people already have their money out, they're going to give them and say, well, pay it towards the next person.
Yeah.
And what if that makes, a large loop, like most of the day somebody's meal is paid for?
Yeah. That'd
So,
be awesome.
yeah.
That'd be
Well, I
pretty
mean, if
cool.
you think about it, and this is kind of a sad thought to think about, but at some point that chain ends.
Mhm.
And it's, the question would be, is it with somebody who, isn't realizing what's going on? Is it somebody who can't afford to pay for the person behind them? So, most of the time you're probably affecting somebody who, really didn't have too much. I mean, there's been a couple times I've been through the drive-through and it's like, I'm like, okay, well, I can only get this and I can only get this and I can only get this because I've only got this much money. It's like I'm getting like 2 burgers because I've only got that much money and that's it. That's all I can get. And knowing the fact that because that's all I've got in my account is a couple bucks for something, and the fact that if somebody were to pay for me, like I said, even if it's a couple dollars, I would say, well, it's probably not much, but put this towards their bill. So that would be super super cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've always thought it was a great concept. I always like random acts of kindness, so that's why I push these cards so much. There have been a couple times we were down at the Grand Lake Farmers Market with my church, and everybody else is trying to we have water with our name on them and everything, and a lot of people are pushing those, which is cool. But I would take a stack of those cards, and I'd walk and I'd talk with people. I actually took Charlie; he had a Kirkridge shirt on, which is the name of my church, and we would walk around, and he would get the attention, and then I would, they'd say, "Oh, who are you here with?" And I say, "Oh, well, I'm here with Kirkridge. We're just out. We're just trying to get our name out." I say, we're not preaching or anything. And I told there were a couple people that I said, I want you to do me a favor. And I said, it's nothing to do with religion. It's just something I want you to do for me. And they're like, okay, what's that? And they're kind of like, what are you gonna make me do? I give them a card and I tell them, what it is. And I say, all I want you to do is just do a random act of kindness for somebody and anonymously give them this card. And then I'll explain to them. I'll say, so say you're in the drive-thru, you pay for somebody, give the worker that card to give to the next person. And there were actually a group of people, they're local Grand Blanc, I think they're from the View or whatever, they were doing something. I gave each of them one, and they're like, we can do that.
Yeah. It's not that hard to go out of your way, just for a little bit to, do a random act of kindness. It could be to, holding the door open to people, for people, or...
And I mean, this wasn't random, but this was very kind. So yesterday, I had a super full day. I had to teach a merit badge at Bass Pro. And because I'm one of the, I'm a certified merit badge instructor for the Boy Scouts, and I'm one of the only certified ones that they have. So I volunteered to teach this badge, and I did it once already, and I did it again last night. And so what I did is I took so I was running low on gas on my way there, and I have to drive all the way to Auburn Hills, and I live in like the Flint, Genesee County area, and so it's about a half-hour drive for me. So I drove there, and I'm looking, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna run it. When on my way home, I need to get gas.
Yeah.
So I went in, I did my class, it went really well, and I left, and I had to leave immediately and go all the way back because our troop. There were a couple kids that I had to sign off on their merit badge. It was actually all the same merit badge.
Oh, wow.
I had to sign off on their merit badge. So what I did is, so I got back in my car. I'm like, I'm super hungry. I've only had, one other thing today. So I ran through the McDonald's drive-thru real quick. And I texted our scout leader. I said, hey, I'm going to be like 10 minutes late. And I pull out of McDonald's, and I'm like, oh crap, I need to get gas. Right when I thought about that, my car started doing the whole like
Oh.
sputtering.
Oh.
I'm like, uh-oh. So I get in a roundabout, or not a roundabout, but I get in a U-turn,
Yeah.
and I was able to coast from the U-turn, or like around the U-turn, into like the ramp of the driveway for
Oh
the gas
wow.
station. And then I put my parking brake on, and I started to look around, and I saw a Jeep, and I said, okay, who I'll just go in and I'll see if there's somebody that I can get that can maybe help me push my car
Yeah.
up to a pump because I'm right here. And so I saw this guy coming out. He was heading towards the Jeep. I walked over and I said, hey, I said, excuse me, could you do me a huge favor? I said, my car just ran out of gas right in the entryway. Do you think you could like help me push it? And he's like, well, I don't know if we'll be able to push it, but I do have tow straps just in case. So we tried to push it, and it started to roll back. He's like, I don't got it. So I put the parking brake back on, and he finished putting gas in his car. We came back, and we hooked a tow strap up. And about that time, a cop came up, and he's like, uh-oh.
Hmm.
And the cop came out. She's like, she's like, is everything, or he's like, is everything okay? And she's like, yeah, I just wanted to check, make sure everything was okay with you guys. He's like, yeah, I'm just going to tow him. He ran out of gas right in the entryway. I'm going to tow him to the pump. She said, okay, cool, and gave him a thumbs up. She said, just wanted to make sure everything was okay. Got back in the cop car and drove away.
Huh.
So if he hadn't have helped me,
Yeah.
the cop would have helped me, which I knew that was going to happen because I've been on the side of the road before, and a cop's come up, and they're like, oh, are you okay? Yeah, I'm just out of gas. I'm waiting on, this person, um, or whatnot. My girlfriend even she had a flat tire
Hmm.
on my car one day, on her way to work, and she was on the expressway. It was snowy, and she was in the far left lane when the tire blew. So she was on the left shoulder of the road, which is a very dangerous place to be. So this cop pulled up behind her, and he said, well, we need to get you to the other side, maybe off that exit. She said, well, I don't want to drive on the tire. He said, but we need to get you at least to the other side. So what he did is he kind of parked in the middle of the expressway, and as she went over, he was like stopping traffic to get the car over, and then he got back in his car, followed her to a parking lot, and then I went over and changed the tire and all that.
Huh.
But so cops are really, when it comes to that, they're super nice. Anyway, so this guy towed me to the pump, and I didn't have to, but I did. I felt, one, an obligation, but I was so grateful. As he's packing everything up, I said, thank you so much. Yeah, I couldn't stop saying thank you. I'm like, thank you so much. This is a big help. I really, I don't know what I would have done. I said, would you like me to buy you a pop or something? I can take you inside. And he's like, oh no, it's fine. He's like, I got everything. I gotta get going. So just that. I mean, I was in need, and he could have said, no, I'm super busy. I can't,
Hmm.
which sometimes it's hard to do, but he kind of looked. He's like, oh yeah, no problem. It'll be no big deal. So I was like a half hour late meeting everyone back, but and they were making fun of me. They're like, when the gas gauge says E, it means E, and I said my gas gauge always says it's empty even when it's full. So um yeah, so it was just one of those things that it was kind of unplanned, but and it ended up working out, and that's what and like I said, I just asked him. He didn't have to say yes, but he did.
Hmm.
And so then I felt obligated. I'm like, hey, I can buy you a pop or something. It's not like I'm out of money. I've got a little bit in my account. And he's like, oh no, it's good. And so I'm like, okay, cool. So that's just even doing something like that. It doesn't even have to be a random act of kind of if you see someone. I'm not saying if you see someone stranded on the side of the road to stop, because sometimes that can get dangerous.
Oh yeah.
But
Use caution for
right,
sure.
right. But if someone comes up and asks like, hey, could you help me just push my car up? If you have the means to, do it.
Definitely.
Um,
If you see an opportunity to do something kind, be cautious, but definitely go for it.
exactly. Speaking of being kind or something really cool, so the Iowa Hawkeyes, which I'm still not really sure what team that is, like what sport they play. I'm thinking it's like football or baseball. I'll check, but anyway, the Iowa Hawkeyes. Sorry, I'm trying to type and talk. And the Iowa Hawkeyes have a new tradition with their fans that you might. It's hockey. Okay, they're a hockey team.
Ah.
So they have a big brand new arena, and it looks like it's an open arena. It
Hmm.
could